Could you please introduce yourself to our group and to our fans?
No, my name is Fredrik Wester, and I've been running the company Paradox Interactive for the past 16 years, and the past just over a year as a chairman, before that as CEO, and before that as a VP of executive VP, basically. So 16 years in total.
That's super cool. And you just came back from Spain. Why do you like Spain? I mean...
Yeah, we decided to move. When I stepped off as CEO, we decided to move to Spain with the family because the weather is a bit better than this. I'm a big football fan as well. So we enjoy watching FC Barcelona play live, and so it's a lot of good things.
That's cool. That's cool. And Yunfan have some.
I'm a player of Stellaris, and I played it quite hundreds of hours, 400 or 500 hours, and I got some questions about it.
Sure.
And you know that the game from Paradox is not so friendly to beginners, right? Yet I guess it might took me around 20 hours to learn how to play the game. But after I
it does.
After I mastered it, I feel wow, I love it so much. I love it. So did you design this mechanism or intentionally, or it's just
it happened to be so?
Yeah, the complexity of the games it's a discussion we have for almost every release. So Stellaris was actually a step forward to making it a bit more accessible because the graphic, it actually tells you what to do. I mean, back in the days you could have a game like Crusader Kings 1 where you didn't understand fully until 80 hours into the game. It was just hidden behind so many menus and systems and everything. So it's something that we constantly try to develop, being easier to get into. But since we want the games to be the most complex and advanced strategy games in the market, we can't cut down on the number of systems either. So we want it to be really complex and really deep, so you can always experience something new, so that every time you play the game is a new experience, basically. I mean, one of our key pillars, and maybe the vision of the whole company is we make the games, but you tell the stories, right? So every time you play the game, it should be a new saga or a new story,
new epic story.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a balance, but it's very, very hard to make a game that you understand right away. So it needs some patience and it needs some love and understanding to get into it. But normally, like you say, it's probably 20 hours before you get all the systems in the game. But it's intentional. It's designed so intentionally because we want the games to be as deep, as complex as possible.
And are you planning to add some more tutorials on how to play the games?
Yeah, I think when we release Crusader Kings 3 next year, I think we're going to see the next level of tutorials from Paradox. Now that's also going to be a complex game, so it's so the tutorial might take 4 to 6 hours to play through. I don't know actually. I haven't played so much of it yet, but I would estimate that that's the case. But a lot of our games have a lot of YouTubers are making great tutorials as well. So if you take Crusader Kings 2, you have Arumba has a 9-hour-long tutorial of the game where he goes through all the details. So sometimes the YouTube influencers are better at describing the game than we are ourselves. So they are even better at describing the mechanics. So it's interesting. But we look at new ways for people to learn the game all the time, because we know we could reach a bigger target audience if more people just learned how to play.
The first time I know about Paradox game is that I watched some videos on the internet say, oh, they are direct epic story about their own, so interested in this game. So this is the reason why I get into the game. And about do you have any plan to get the games into some other platforms? I know Stellaris just get its version on Xbox, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
correct.
But do you plan on, for example, get the game on mobile platforms?
Yes, we did launch Stellaris on mobile platforms, but it had some stolen artwork, so we had to take it down. That was very unfortunate. But Stellaris is eventually coming out, but it's not the same version as you find on the PC and the console. So it's a different version. It's made only for mobile. Yeah. And that's because a typical Stellaris session on a PC can be several hours long. But on a cell phone, you just want to pick it up, play for 2-3 minutes, and then take it down again. So it's a different way of playing. So previously, we thought that we just wanted to port the games to mobile, but we understood quite quickly that it can't be done. We tried with City Skylines, and we tried with Hearts of Iron, and it didn't work. So if we're going to make success on the mobile platforms, we need to treat them as separate titles with separate, a new way to approach the way we play the games.
I can say it might need some simplification.
Yeah, that too.
Mobile platform.
Yes, not as much text, for example, because the text in, for example, Europa Universalis is quite small, and it takes a lot of screen as well. So, so, but it's coming. I hope we're going to see more Paradox games on mobile as well. Yeah, hopefully.
And as a player and in the circle of the Chinese players who plays Paradox games, and actually and curious about, do you know some internet memes about your games?
Yeah, we do follow a lot of those. Yes. We do, and we know that people are making fun of certain parts, and it's a part of our culture as well.
It's so funny that some of my friends, they are actually 100% Chinese, but they talk it every day to me, like, I'm making Roma great again. I want to be a Roma, and if I got a second chance, something like this. It's
right.
Interesting.
It's cool. It's interesting to see how much audience we're picking up with the memes specifically. It's a lot of fun through Reddit, for example, and different channels.
So will you have specific staff that will talk to players in Reddit?
We do have our community managers. They are on Steam, Reddit, and all the platforms where our gamers are as well. We are talking directly to people. We do AMAs as well from time to time. I've done 1 or 2 AMAs, like Ask Me Anything about Paradox. I sat for 6 hours answering questions during the meeting. That was a lot of fun. We try to connect a lot directly to people, so we get the feedback directly from the ones who are playing.
Yeah, and we have some questions about how did you see entrepreneurship is?
Yep.
And based on your experience, so
sure.
Some questions on that.
And the first question is, could you share some experience with, and the reasons about why you decided to bought the video game division?
I've always liked video games. I've been playing video games since I was 6-7 years old, and I had a Spectrum computer when I grew up, and we played on the Nintendo, the gray NES system Nintendo from 1986. We bought that when I was 12 years old. So games has always been a part of my life. So to begin with, I thought when we bought the computer games division of Paradox, we were 7 or 8 people. I don't remember. It was a small unit, and we saw that our games were a bit too small to make it into the big retail chains because they were a bit too nerdy and a bit too niche. But we thought if we could just reach people directly more, so we started the download portal in 2006 to reach people directly. But we knew that if we could just reach enough people, we could grow the company to a much larger base than we are today. Because the most common way to know about the Paradox game back in those days was you had a friend who played a game. Like you say, now is YouTube. Now people watch videos. But back then you would see someone else play Europa Universalis and you would ask, what kind of game is this? Yeah. And they would normally say, I don't think you'll like it. It's probably too complicated for you. And then people would be like, no, I want to try it. And that's how it spread. And so we have a very, very dedicated and very loyal audience as well who play a lot of our games, and they've been with us for a long period of time. A lot of the players as well. So it's been a great journey. But I always knew that if we could just find ways to reach the gamers directly instead of having to go through retailers and distributors, we would have a great business. So that's the promise that we built on from 2004 and forward. I didn't really think it would be this big at this point, but I knew that it could be a lot bigger than what we were back then.
Oh, so that's the reason why you established the digital distribution platform
Gamersgate.
Gamersgate,
Yep,
yeah.
that's why we started that in 2006.
Yeah.
And the prime reason was basically that we got an email from a gamer in Argentina who said, I want to buy your games, but I can't because no retailer in Argentina is carrying the game. And the only way I can play it is to download a pirate copy. But I would like to pay you. And we're like, okay, that's good. Okay. So we set up a very simple service. We built it in 6 weeks, I think. And then we started allowing for direct downloads from us. So if you want it, you could pay money and you download the game directly. So to begin with, it was very simple. And then we built it up over time. Then we started working with Steam, I think, late 2008. First games on Steam was late 2008.
We also read your tweets about there is a story about
Yeah.
the 4 months before the CK launch, the US publisher has broke up or
bankrupt.
broke up. So
Yeah, they went
in
into
order to
bankruptcy.
get the game out in the US, so you you built up an e-commerce set in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So
It was a off-the-shelf e-commerce online site that we set up in 2 weeks, and then we we packed it. We sent everything by hand. So we hand packed all the envelope. It was 4,500 envelopes in 3 weeks. So me and 2 other guys, we took directly after work at 6 o'clock. We went to the warehouse here, and then we packed for a couple of hours, and then we went home. So we did that for almost 2 weeks in a row. So that was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun as well. The biggest order was to the Blizzard headquarters in Orange County. We sent 10 copies to Blizzard because there were a lot of Paradox gamers there. So that was really cool. In 2004, we were just 12 people, I think. So we were super honored to have Blizzard players among our fans.
So that's cool. And so, how did you build the vision of digitalization? I think you are really a great entrepreneur with a great vision of digitalization.
I mean, we knew from 2005 and forwards, we knew that digital distribution for the PC was going to be the main way to reach people. First of all, World of Warcraft made so all gamers needed good internet connection. So all gamers had to have good connection to play World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So we said, if they can have at least 12 million monthly subscribers for World of Warcraft, at least there is a minimum 12 million people have a PC good enough to play our games. So we have a good base to build on. So that's how we thought. We knew that if a couple of pioneers would just come first in the industry, we could follow on that tail, which is what we did basically. And then when Steam started to accept external, they actually contacted us and asked for the game Mountain Blade, which we were the publisher for back in those days. I said, can we have this on the platform? We're like, yeah, we have a whole portfolio of games. So I went to Seattle and met with Steam and showed them our portfolio. They were, oh, this is good. So then we started. Then we had Majesty 2 and Hearts of Iron 3 on there. So that was the first 3 games.
So, do you think what the effects of the digital transformation do you foresee in the general in the game industry? Can you share some opinions with us?
What on?
On the games industry.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting trends going on right now. So you have, first of all, the subscription trend, which is like you have Microsoft Game Pass, for example. You have what else? Like Epic Games is doing a lot of interesting stuff where they pay minimum guarantees to people to get exclusive content. So there's a lot of different platforms fighting over content right now.
Yeah.
Amazon is probably doing a big push within soon. You have the Google who has the Stadia. You have Tencent coming from China, obviously, and wants to break into the Western market as well. So there's a lot of different like platform owners right now who want to spend a lot of money in original content. So that's going to be it's going to be an interesting war to see how it paves out. Apple has started their arcade for premium games, and so there has never been a better time to be a content producer than it is right now. And I know this is not going to go on forever. So once the platform wars are over, you're going to see that the content makers, it's going to be like a shakeout of the content makers as well. But right now we see free-to-play growing, mobile is growing a lot. You see subscription growing both on PC and on consoles, and you see a hybrid model of free-to-play and premium as well. It is, for example, now we give away Crusader Kings 2 for free, and then we sell DLCs on top of that. So, so we're now looking at different models and seeing like how can we expand our business in different directions. Then you have the things people have high hope for, like virtual reality that never took off, and it seems to be kind of a flop. And we'll see if the next generation VR can make it. I'm not too sure about that. Then you have AR, which is super interesting as well, or mixed reality, if you like Pokemon Go, and you're going to see like Harry Potter, Wizards Unite, super interesting as well. And you're going to see more games like that, I think, that mixes reality with like map-based games or whatever. But right now, I think the business models are the most interesting thing, and see how subscription is being treated, and how much platform owners are willing to pay for content. That is super interesting at the moment, the coming 2 years.
That's cool.
Do you think that Epic Game is a good thing that for players like Epic Game to get into the industry?
I think Epic is doing a favor because they're paying a lot of money to independent developers, so they can afford to take larger risks. So I think in the short term, people who don't want to play an Epic Game Store, they are going to be angry that some things are exclusive. But in the long run, it means that content providers get more money, so they can make more cool games. So I think it's hard. You have to have two thoughts in your head at the same time. That short term, maybe Epic Game Store is not the best place in the world to play games on.
Yes.
But long term, they're still providing the whole computer games industry with more money. So it's more money for the content producers, which I think is good long term.
Yes, competition is always a good thing.
Competition is always good, right?
Yeah.
All right, I have a question about VQ3. Because a lot of Chinese fans, they said we have to wait until 2048. Do you know that?
I don't think we have to wait until 2048. I think it's going to come out before then. It's my personal thought. But no, I don't think we have to wait that long. Victoria has always been an odd series for us because it's stuck somewhere in between everything else. Crusader Kings is about bloodlines. It's an RPG. It's very clear. Europa Universalis is an empire building game, and Hearts of Iron is a complete war game. It's 100% warfare. Yeah. Victoria is somewhere in between. It's more of an economic simulator, or like it's very different from the other games, and that's also why it's been harder for us to work with in a way, because people here when we make a new game, it's not like I don't go to the team and say now we have to make this game. The team decides pretty much themselves. So you have to find someone who has a great vision for a Victoria 3. But we might have that. I don't know. Maybe someone just comes out because now the demand is so big all of a sudden. We don't really know why. But all of a sudden everyone is talking about it. So maybe there's reason for it. And game developers, they also like to get attention from people. So sooner or later someone will turn up and say, I want to do this game. Okay. So we'll see. But it's going to be before 2048. I can almost guarantee that. But it's 29 years. So I can guarantee that.
For me, I personally get to know Paradox Interactive because your way of building the game in a storytelling way, as you mentioned before. And when I was thinking about this form of games, I'm thinking of the young generation in our in our generation, the young people. What makes them feel very secure is to make them feel reflective about themselves, build their own stories and to think about themselves. This is a very deep physiological, psychological problem for us. Everybody is feeling very lonely in this world, and trying to play a form like storytelling game, it makes them feel very safe. So I see this form has a very great potential in the upcoming generations, upcoming time. And maybe do you have some design vision of in which form this kind of storytelling will be habited on? Are you going to think bigger than the game industry? Are you going to put this storytelling form into smart cities or into ARs? Some other technologies are you going to try? to?
Yeah, I think first of all, gaming is a superior way to tell stories, and that's why we've grown so much lately. That people see that instead of reading a book or a magazine or something where someone else already told the story, you're in charge of everything yourself, and saying it doesn't matter if you win or lose the game. That's not the point. The point is, if you see our YouTubers and our streamers, the most popular ones are not the ones who are best at the game, which is typically the case if you play League of Legends or Fortnite. Then if you're the best, you get a lot of followers. Ours are the ones who tell the nicest stories. They're like good storytellers, and they can tell you what happens, and because the story takes place in your head, not necessarily only on the screen. But what we want to do, our next step, is to mix reality with storytelling in the games, with what's happening next. Say, for example, we have a great television show, if you want to call it that, on YouTube called LA by Night, which is basically this Vampire the Masquerade. It's one game master and 4 people who play the tabletop role-playing game in a setting like this. So they sit around the table and they stream it on Twitch. The first episode of the first season now has 500,000 views on YouTube, only that one. So it's a great way to tell a story. If we could mix this, for example, with a live-action role-playing game at the end of the season with like 500 people who come to play together with us to develop the story further, together with the 4 actors, together with the game master, together with the people from Paradox, and then in this live-action role-playing game, you'll see, I wonder what's going to happen here. We don't have the ending clear. It's going to fall into place depending on how people play the game in that specific place. And then when season 2 or 3 or 4 starts, it's all based on what happened in this live action role-playing game. So we are striving going forward to be much more transmedial. So not only have the games, but having live action things that happens as well, and events and everything that actually taps into the gaming universe as well, which we can do with a game like Vampire or a game like Crusader Kings or something else, but it's harder for someone like Marvel to do because they have their superheroes. You can't really touch them. Like, you can't come in, normal people can't really interact with superheroes because it doesn't make sense, right? So I think we have a lot of cool ideas on how to mix reality with games going forward. If that was even close to answering your questions, but that was a part of what we're working on right now, and we'll see how it comes out.
I'm dreaming of this gaming utopia all the time, like interact with this world and build some kind of cool games from it. It's and in a dream scenario, having a role-playing game, a live-action role-playing game in a virtual reality world would be even better, because then you don't need to travel somewhere and be a part of it. You just create the world in your VR, like it's already there. You maybe meet in a castle that someone just created in VR, and then you have your live action role-playing game there in that castle at a certain point of time. So everyone can check in from all over the world without paying through the nose to get there, or in hotel rooms and whatnot. So you can sit in your pajamas basically, but still look really cool in the game. So that would be cool. Yeah. What do you see the biggest challenge here to fulfill this goal? Like the technology aspect? Or?
Yeah, technology is one. I think we are not really, right now for Paradox, we are built into like product silos, and it's very hard to, like, people have their budgets, they have their project timelines, and it's very hard to go to someone and say, I have this coolest idea, let's do it, because they'll be like, oh no, I have so much to do, right? Yeah. So I think the challenge right now is to explain to people what the 5-year vision is and why we need to work on that starting now. Because a lot of people are caught up in 12-month planning when it should be like 48 to 60-month planning, where you see like, this is what we're trying to achieve over time. So I think just raising the vision over the horizon and seeing what is next for us. How does the whole project team tap into the higher vision, and how do we get everyone on board to really feel that this is the direction we're going? That's going to be the biggest challenge. But people here they're experimental and they like new cool things. So,
How do you balance this? Like the projects or team who are doing the current projects and the team who are going to build the next generation games?
Right. we have a new business team, and they are doing all the crazy ideas that has no P&L or no budget right now. So they're taking care of that. They do all the calculations and say, we could potentially do this and this and this and that. This would be the cost. This is the potential revenue. This is the potential upside for the company. And this is how we evaluate if it was a good project or not, and if we're going to scale it up or if we're just going to close it down. So that's the new business team is 8 people right now, so it's a small team. But so we scratch new ideas off the list all the time. We test something, it's like, oh, this is bad, because most ideas are quite bad, to be honest. When you test them, they have no bearing, like, financially.
That's what we learned from the course. Like, if you want to have a good idea, you need to have a lot of ideas.
Oh, a lot of ideas, that's right. Because the first 200 ideas are probably bad, and then you have to keep on doing. Keep on testing and try and experiment.
All I have.
And I got one more question.
Sure.
So now Paradox have games on the space galaxy and on World War II and on the historical period. And do you have some new topic that you wanna do games?
Yes.
At that topic.
I would like to do a fantasy game.
Fantasy.
Yeah, like Stellaris, but in a fantasy universe. And we've been talking about this for 5-6 years, but nothing has happened. But it would be great, because the difference between history and fantasy is that in fantasy you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to throw in dragons, you just add dragons and say, now we have dragons in the game. It's very hard to add dragons to Crusader Kings, because it's not like, so the people are going to go crazy. We did one historical like screw up, so to speak. We did the Aztec invasion, where the Aztecs invade Europe, and people got really upset and say, this is not historically accurate, and this never happened. And so no one is playing with that expansion because they're so angry at everything. It's the worst selling expansion we've ever made. So we learned that we're not going to mix fantasy and reality in our historical games. We learned from that expansion. But I would love eventually to make a fantasy game, because it allows you for a larger freedom. If you want to have magic weapons in there, give them magic weapons. If you want to have wizards, if you want to have, like I said, dragons, whatever, you can put it in there. And it gives us 100% freedom instead of being locked into historical events and history. History is great because you have a lot of source material, but it's also limiting because people will tell you if you fall out of line. So that's what I would like to do, but there's nothing in the works, unfortunately, at the moment. But it's a dream that I have. So Stellaris started like this. It was like 9 or 8 years ago. We said we should make a space game, because space is such a great thing to do, and you can make up new things, and you can just like let your fantasy flow.
Aliens.
Aliens and spaceships. And, So that's how we started. And now we're starting to talk about the fantasy. So maybe in 10 years we'll have a fantasy game. Who knows? Hopefully.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the interview.